there, this is the video for the 2.16 lesson, Analyzing an Era. The 1920s were an age of prosperity and growth in the United States. It was a time when many Americans embraced exciting cultural trends and raced to buy all the latest gadgets and innovations. But change didn't appeal to everyone and conflicts arose. Native born against immigrant, country against city, religion against science. Some saw the Roaring Twenties as a fast-paced, boisterous, colorful party of a decade. Others saw it as a frightening period of decadence, excess, and decline. Looking back, it was a fascinating era. Goals for this lesson: analyze events and trends of the 1920s to assess the impact of the era on American life and culture, and demonstrate mastery of important knowledge and skills learned in previous lessons, which means the 216 quiz. Let's quick check lesson resources. There's no reading guide or lesson answer key, just the student guide here today. So let's go ahead and see what we're going to do. Complete the 1920s, a fascinating decade online activity, and read chapter 29 highlights online and take the online quiz. So let's start with the decade. So it says click an image from the collage of images. So let's start with this one here. President Coolidge there and Al Smith, one of the candidates for president. In the text box, write a descriptive caption for the event or trend the image represents. You will later use this information to complete the written portion of the quiz. Okay, so let's make a caption for this image. Well, we know it's about politics. So let's write politics, and my cat is helping me here today trying to type. That's not really handy. Politics in the 1920s. List 2 ways in which this trend or event changed American culture. Well, let's go back to our Roaring Twenties sheet that we completed in the previous lessons. And let's look where it says politics and big business. So, what do we remember? Ouch, Pickles. He's mean, see? In what way did President Harding's administration help corporations? We know that the presidents of the 1920s supported big business. They kind of left, as one of the quote was, the business of America is business. So if we go back to our online activity, we can find where that is. Here it is. We know that politics or presidents slash politics supported big business. That's one point. And another trend or event that changed American culture talks about cutting corporate taxes and opposing the efforts of labor unions. So we know that labor unions also were on decline during this time. So let's go back to our activity. Labor unions on the decline. Pickles quit it. Okay, next, continue. Next, let's choose. So how about the cars, motor cars? Let's talk about the automobiles in the 1920s. List 2 ways in which this trend or event changed American culture. When we go back and look at our sheet, let's find where it talks about everyday, is it everyday life? Yes, automobiles. What are some things? Oh, wait a minute. Here's prosperity. It also talks about cars. Right here. Production of cars on assembly lines created new businesses, roads, and industries. Everyday life. We also know that it gave youth more freedom, more ability to be separated from their parents. We talked about the development of teenager and adolescent culture. So if we go back to our online activity, let's just let's see, what could we say here about how the automobile changed or impacted American culture? Made them more mobile. I can't get anything done with Pickles helping me. Mobile. Able to move faster and farther, basically. We could also talk about freedom, more freedom for women and teens. Also, businesses. getaway pickles, businesses that developed because of the car, gas stations, repair shops, building better roads. I also talk about the assembly line because that really impacted other businesses and factories as well. Okay, let's pick, how about this radio? So we could talk about mass communications and culture. How did this trend or event change American culture? Well, let's look at mass culture and entertainment. Oh, there's lots of stuff there that we could put down. The new modes of entertainment opened a lot of doors for people. They can now hear the same news whether they're living in California or New York. They can listen to the same music. A nationalization of popular culture. I kind of like that to summarize the whole concept there. So let's put that down. What was it again? A nationalization of popular culture. Nationalization of popular culture. Another way the trend or event changed American culture. Where do you even start? That's pretty difficult to summarize all of that. I think you could also say it, well, that's gave people an ability to listen to sports, music, the jazz age of the time, the consumerism, listening to ads. Oh, let's see. How about we'll put advertising, influencing consumer trends, because the ads would influence what people wanted to buy. Okay, this one here, what do we have? Looks like we have some flappers, the new woman. This trend or event changed American culture. Where do we have our section here on the new woman? New sense of identity and personal freedom. The whole flapper, working, wear makeup, dance at jazz clubs when unsupervised, moved out on their own. New freedom, so freedom and changing customs. So I want to say changing customs for women. Another, how else could we talk about the flappers changing America? Jobs, having jobs available, opening more jobs for women, jobs and other opportunities for women. Okay, continuing on. And I'm not saying what I have is perfectly correct. It's just a start and to get the essence of it. Where do we have here? The Sun Also Rises, Hemingway, The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald. So we're talking about literature of the 1920s. We can talk about it being the lost generation, those two in particular. So let's just consider this arts and literature. So let's title it Arts and Literature. Two ways it changed American culture. It gave a voice to the lost, now put that in parentheses, lost generation. Also, what else could we say? She considered many of the young people who fought in the Great War as a generation that was bitter and disillusioned by the war and their experiences once they returned home. Many of these young men felt changed by the war, yet were surrounded by people who had not fought in the war and who remained unchanged. That's kind of summarizing the arts and literature. Let's also put down that some of the, like The Great Gatsby, it really described what the fast-paced life of the 1920s were. Described some literature like The Great Gatsby. Gatsby, gave an overview of the fast-paced, decadent life of the 1920s. Continue. Let's put in the old Babe Ruth there. Entertainment / sports of the 1920s. How this changed a culture or a trend in America. We have popular sports figures also started advertising products. So not only were they celebrities on the field, but off the field they could also help sell things as well. And sports really came to the forefront of American society when you could listen to them on the radio, go to those events. Even if you didn't live close to the big game, like for example, watching Babe Ruth play, you could still listen to it on the radio. Okay, so how could I say it? Sports really came to the center, really became available. Really became available to the masses with the radio, etc. Okay, moving on. Okay, we got the Ku Klux Klan. So we have, let's just title this Reaction, because we could also talk about Scopes Monkey trial. Where is it here? Action and reaction, prosperity, everyday life, reactions. Okay, and also prohibition could be a reaction there too. And fundamentalism. All right, so let's just summarize this as a reaction against the fast-paced changes of the 1920s. Science versus creation. Big city versus rural. What else do we have in there? Resurgence of nativism. Nativism versus diversity. And we have the Harlem Renaissance, the Jazz Age, there with Louis Armstrong. So we could talk about the Harlem Renaissance, gave a voice and identity to African American culture. And jazz, if we talk about jazz in particular, was the music of the 1920s. Why it's also sometimes called the Jazz Age. And lastly, that's prohibition. Prohibition. And what can we say about prohibition? Oh, and I talked about the development of organized crime led to the highly developed system of organized crime. It also, people shunned the law in favor of breaking the law. You had speakeasies, cops that could be bribed, etc. People were not following the law to the letter. So you can print this out if you would like to see everything that you did and print it out.